Welcome to the Jubilee Road podcast with authors and bloggers Jamie Amarine of Sacred Ground Sticky Floors and Rebecca Huff of That Organic Mom. This is Season 5, Charm School, Embracing the Art of Womanhood. Each week you'll enjoy real talk about our perceptions of each other, how to better ourselves with books, culture, and products. And as always, you'll get a hearty dose of grace. So grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice and join Jamie and Rebecca on this season's wild ride. Buckle up. Here are Jamie and Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Jamie Amarine.
I'm sorry. I was clearing my throat. My face looked like,
Hi, I'm Jamie Amarine.
And I'm Rebecca Huff.
And this is Jubilee Road Podcast, Season 5, Episode 2. And we are neck deep in Charm School. And my brain just stopped. It's the art of womanhood, I think is what we're calling it, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what we called it.
But today we are actually calling this episode 2, Self-Help Hazards. And I can get on a soapbox about this, so you're going to have to hold me down.
I'm going to have to hold her hand so we don't point any fingers.
Right. Well, I don't want to point any fingers. And actually, I think when Stolen Jesus and Sacred Ground Sticky Floors came out, there was the talk of how you categorize books.
Oh.
And one of my things that I didn't want with Sacred Ground Sticky Floors, because it says how to raise kind of great kids, but is that it sounded like a self-help book, a how-to book. And I was praying about it, really grief-stricken over it, because I was thinking, I end up in the back of a police car being held for questioning for possession of an illegal narcotic. How is it that it looks as if I'm speaking from authority? And I was laying on the couch. I remember everything about it. And I just felt like the Holy Spirit said, it's not a how-to book. It's a how-he book. How he saves, how he restores, how he completely makes everything new. It's restoration. And I say this all the time, that we serve a God of restoration. But I think the other thing that happens with so many self-help gurus and books, tapes, audios, all of the things, seminars, is that we get into this place where the methodology and the person become more important than who is actually capable of helping us be all these things that we are called to be without the stress of self-condemnation and societal condemnation. And it's such a vast, empty place to believe that we are in control or that we can save ourselves. If we could save ourselves, if we could save our children, if we could save our marriages, if we could do anything to make life better, why the cross? Why this magnificent thing that was the ultimate act of sacrifice and giving? Why would we need that? Why wouldn't he have done something else?
Precisely.
And we get into this thing where we have all of these methods that we should be following and all the things we should be eating and we shouldn't be eating and how we should do this and this and this and this. And we get into this ritual and then we save. We're saved by that. And we're quick to tell everyone that this is what you need to do. How many people have said that to you? Oh, I know what you need to do.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to read this book because this person will tell you. So I was telling Rebecca, there was a book that I recently read.
We jumped right into this.
We did. And we didn't even do the road sign or the map or pray. So
yeah, so you were just like,
because I will.
Because she has so much to say on this. So let's regroup.
So yes, regroup. Sorry, rewind, and follow the method that we promised ourselves we were going to follow. And Rebecca, would you like to pray before I lose it?
I shall pray.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for who you are, and we just thank you for your many, many blessings on us. And we just ask, Lord, that you'll be with us as we bring this message about the hazards of self-help. We just ask that you give us words and give us wisdom and help us to impart the dangers of this. You know, it's a trap that we can easily fall into, Lord, and we want you to be the ultimate authority for what we do in our life, how we help ourselves, how we help others, how we treat others, and even how we treat ourselves. So Lord, just be with us and bless this podcast and bless every single one of our listeners. In Jesus' name.
Amen. So in a recent book that I read
You need to read the road sign in the scripture, Sugar. Read it.
I'm sorry. I'm so ready for this.
She's so excited, you guys.
Roadmap.
Road sign.
Road sign. Our road sign for today is choose your roadmap carefully. Some self-help books pretend to say something, but in reality are nice sounding words with no real value. I.e., a faulty cartographer. Yes. Yeah. And our scripture for today, wait, are you reading the scripture?
You're reading it.
Okay. Is 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17. All scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training the righteous, that the man of God may be competent, equipped for every good work.
And Jamie, I think we have to have two because
we do have to have two.
The second option is also good, and we didn't choose. So go ahead and read the second one too.
Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind,
Amen.
that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect.
That's so perfect for this. I love that.
So we have two scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
So now before I forget, which we are going to talk this entire season about being well read. We are going to recommend some books, but one of the things I don't do, which I'm currently working, there's negotiations for my third book deal, and it's basically written, but there's so many things about it that continue to change. And the reason they continue to change is because God keeps showing me these things about myself and about what I believe about myself and what I believe about the world that so impact the words in this book. And I have to err on the cautionary side of this, because it could easily become what people view as a self-help book. However, this one book, everybody kept going, you have to read this, but not because it's going to change your life, but it is going to help you form words for what so hurts me for women. And that is the lie that we are not enough, that we are in control, total control. You have total control over your destiny, and that we can fix it, that we are the answer. So I was telling Rebecca that I have the intro for this book ready to go. And I said, and I want to change it. And this sounds abrasive. And I think that any publisher that saw it would go, honey, that's not how you sell books. But as I was listening to this one particular, definitely a self-help book, I heard this in my head. And she's saying, you picked up this book for this and this and this, and this is why you want it, and I, and me, and you can be what I can be, and all this stuff. And I told Rebecca, I was like, I think I want my book, the intro to my book, to say, I hope I never meet you. I hope you never give me a second thought.
This isn't about me.
Because it's not. And you can say that. We say that, and we call it authenticity. But where I've come from in my writing journey to where I am now, I am so thankful for the shortcomings and the failures, because, I even look at my very first draft of Sacred Ground Sticky Floors, and it was a formula I was following so that I could have perfection in my life, or what appeared to be perfection. But it was not the truth of what brought me true peace. True peace is surrendering to this authority that is Christ Jesus, not surrendering to religion or pomp and circumstance, not visualization or any of the things that I think are promoted as. One of the things, I actually started following somebody, I need to find it, Rebecca, because I think, but it's called the Manifestation Podcast. And this woman talks about sitting down every day and manifesting success, manifesting everything you want in your marriage and your appearance and everything. And you and I are doing quite a bit of research and connection in that. But as it pertains to Christ, the
not
idea
of yourself,
not of
lest any
yourself.
man should boast.
Yeah, not of ourselves, but of what he wants for us, how he leads us, how we are moved. And we're seeing this in so many things. We're the cheese. We just ate cheese. It was really good cheese. But did we taste the cheese? Did we thank God for the cheese? There's all of these
We get in
aspects
so much of a hurry.
and how we're supposed to be doing things, or what needs to be done next, and how we're going to do it, that we're missing out on.
We lose focus.
This focus that is this Christ that he's the cheese.
And he should be the only focus. He is the cheese.
Is the focus.
Yeah. And I have to say, because I know you really have a lot to say about this, and I know you feel very strongly, and I know what book and whatever you're talking about, and I'm not going to go there, but it is all about the author. And as much as I would love if, you became rich and famous, or I became rich and famous, that's not my ultimate goal. My goal is to help people, and it always has been. I genuinely love helping someone, build a healthy habit, do something in a better way, or, if I find out about something great, I love to share that information with someone. I never, and I think it can sometimes come across this way. And I think sometimes when people do, it's like Lorraine from, Grace and Graffiti. It's like she said, when she first saw my website or whatever, she was like, oh, she's probably really judgmental. And then she had a question to ask me. And when she talked, she was like, oh, you're nothing like I expected. I thought you would be really judgy and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But, so I think it can come across that way, but I'm not doing this because I'm like, oh, I'm, this and that, it's all about how healthy I am or whatever. Cause I struggle too, but it's about, because I absolutely love helping other people.
And I loved from a very young age, to serve, but, and especially now, because people do reach out to me and ask me advice, or do reach out to me and tell me their horror stories, or do tell me their brokenness. And I can come up with some strategies.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a background in counseling,
and I have a background in being counseled. And that was my musing, is that I needed a lot of help in my life.
Yeah.
I needed the help.
It's not that we can't apply helps, but I think it's very important that those helps are then taken to the helper.
Well, you're getting into the life application section, so let's stick
So
to the musings.
The musings are this. So, and one of the reasons I wrote a blog post about the book that I'm talking about, and I felt like I was generous. And the reason I was generous also is because of this, because we're human. The author was human, and this is what worked for her. This is, in every sense of the word, is a textbook on success. However, when I read between the lines, what I also saw was affluence. And when I read the comments on Amazon,
affluence, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah.
When I read the comments on Amazon, the negative comments about this particular book, the thing that is said over and over again, and I'm using quotes, is big white mama problems. And it was not a universal help. And I remember years ago when I very first got into this, no, not that long ago, but it's been about 4 years ago, my mom and I went to a conference. And at the conference, the speaker that got up and said,
I was trying to look at the timer.
Oh, I didn't start it again. So.
Oh, yeah, you did. I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh, wait, I saw it. Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The speaker at the conference.
The speaker at this conference got up and she was like, you can do this. You can be where I am. You can have what I have. You can. And she's speaking to a room full of authors. And I was sitting next to one that went, this is a lie. This is not true. This is not accurate for what these women need to hear about their message.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a room full of writers that were being told, you can have your own conference, you can be the bee's knees, you can get up and Beth Moore, the wizard out of everybody. You can have this too. And the person next to me was so offended, she actually got up and left.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we were talking afterwards, she was like, I'm a minority. My husband is a school teacher. I can barely afford to keep my blog alive. I'm not going to have this conference. But not only do I not want to have my own conference or this following, I just want to help missionaries in the work or in the field with bettering themselves while they're still trying to help other people. Because she said, as a missionary, I got lost. My identity got lost in their suffering. And all of that resonated with me in that there can be one message that we can all get behind and we can all believe in and we can all know that it is for us. And that is the truth of who Jesus Christ is and why he died. My story, Rebecca's story, all the other people that we know that are coming to us with their stories have one common link, and that is our only help comes from the Lord.
Right.
And
the thing about it is, we don't all start out from the same place in life.
No, we don't. And Rebecca and I actually, I can't even remember. Did I message you first? She commented, I think, on one of my blog posts, and I messaged her. And I know I've told you this before, but I messaged her because I was desperate for help with my weight. I was unhappy and sad and miserable, and I felt like I was getting this spotlight attention now from these viral blog posts. And she said something, and I messaged her. She had no idea who I was. As a matter of fact, after we talked for a little bit, she realized, oh my gosh, you wrote an open letter to my children. You're not that great. And I said, yes.
And I had confessed that I just happened to read that one article, and that I wasn't that type of blog reader. I don't even read blogs. I mean, now I do because.
Right. And now over the course of this, so I'm in Tennessee again for the second time as we're recording this episode or this season. And I was telling her last night as we're working on another really big project
Mm-hmm.
that we're so excited about. None of this would have happened. None of this would have come about if the plans that I had made or the plans that Rebecca had made for ourselves had come to fruition the way that we thought that they would. And there's not a dream board, and there's not a prayer list, and there's not any of the things that went one way because we said so.
Right.
And praise Jesus for that.
His plan is definitely better than ours.
His plan is better than ours. So I think that, and I'm certainly not telling you not to read books, because I think that one of the biggest mistakes that we make in listening to other authors and other speakers is that we go, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, that was this. But in reality, even when we read something that we disagree with, even when we're steeped in a movement or a teaching, there's parts of it that we can learn from, and that we can know it's either not for us. We can change it. We can apply parts of it.
Yes, but this is the danger though and that's the whole point of this episode, is the actual danger of self-help books. And while yes, there are some good self-help books out there, not every self-help book is for you, I think is what you're trying to say.
Right.
And it reminded me of something that I read a little while back about truth bias. And so truth bias basically provides liars with an advantage because people want to believe what they hear, see, or read. And the effect of truth bias is stronger if the person telling the story is like a trusted person, so they're big and famous, or they have like 1 million followers on Instagram. People are going to believe that, and they may not even realize they're lying. They're maybe not intentionally lying, but they may be leading you astray. So, and then obviously the truth bias diminishes if it's someone that you don't trust.
Right.
But the thing about the truth bias that is important is that the written word, people tend to believe the written word more, because if it's in a book, obviously they're an authority. And so that's not necessarily true. And even though they may be an authority in whatever place they are, they're not an authority under Jesus Christ.
Right.
And so that's where it can get into some danger zones. And so you kind of have to be strong in your faith. You have to know what you believe. which I don't want to get too far into the life application because I've got stuff there. But
Yeah.
I did want to say, because what you were talking about made me think about my musings, was that for the longest, I don't even know how many self-help books I've probably read in my life, a ton, because I always felt like I needed so much help. And of course, the first thing you do is read a self-help book. But, and I'll probably read more self-help books in the future. But I remember specifically one time I had 2 books. One of them, one was the Spaghetti and Waffles book. Do you remember that one? Men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti, or vice versa. Which one is spaghetti and which one is waffles? Well, anyways, you guys maybe know it is a Christian book, and it compares, and then this is kind of sad that I don't remember which is which, but it's been since, I don't know, maybe read that book in 2010 or something. But
for some reason, I think women are spaghetti because it's the complexity of that, and men are the waffles because somewhere along the way, I remember that they'll fill up the holes with.
Put it in everything in a box, like in a little square.
That's what I think it is.
Well, I'm not going to say which is which, but just that's not even important. The concept was that I was actually reading this book, and I, at the time, was like, wow, this has a lot of good information in it. This is so good. And this is helpful because Sean and I were starting to struggle with like communication issues. Like I said, this is back in 2010. And my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, I love them so much. They're the sweetest people on earth. But they came over to where I was staying, and I was like, oh my goodness, you need to read this book. It's so good. And I was so hurt because she was like, you don't like basically, I'm not going to say what she said verbatim, but it was just basically like, you don't need that book. All you need is the Bible. And I was like, okay, well, the Bible doesn't have anything about waffles and spaghetti, I'm telling you. But I mean, it does. But anyways, the point was she was warning me that there's a danger in self-help books. At the time, I was just like, really? That's all you ever read is the Bible? You don't ever read any books besides that? But that was because I was in a place of kind of like I was defensive. Yeah, and desperate for help. And I was like, yes, I do believe the Bible, and I know that the help is in there. And like I said, that's the life application. But she was trying to warn me that first you need to go to the Bible. I mean, it was a little bit, because when you're first new in your faith, and you can be like a little bit legalistic. So there was a little bit of legalism in there, but the underlying truth was that the Bible comes first, and there are dangers in self-help, but it's a Christian book. It's a Christian self-help book, and the principles in it are sound.
Right.
So
I cannot remember where this is. I know it's in a couple of my blog posts, and I know it's in, I think it's in Sacred Ground Sticky Floors, where I talk about mentor or having authors, speakers, personalities, or even just somebody from your church that is all of a sudden some kind of authority in your life. And we did talk about this with
put on a pedestal.
Yeah, put on a pedestal. And we did talk about this with Dr. J, which is in last season. So that'll already be out by the time you hear this. But humans will let you down. They will disappoint you. And I know, and I won't say any names in this right now, but I will link the article. So do not let me forget to link the article about the plagiarism. That is one of my very good friends that was proven plagiarized. So all done, said and done, it was done. Someone plagiarized her book. And it's someone in a very powerful place within the Christian evangelical circuit. And she stole this. And now we're seeing that also on Instagram with somebody else that's a very powerful guru that plagiarized somebody else's words, multiple times, took their words and made them their own. One of my biggest fears, and another reason I Google stuff, and I tell people, I had one time my editor, when she was editing one of my books, sent me a quote from my book, and she was like, "This is the most brilliant thing you've ever said. I absolutely love it." And I read it and went, I didn't say that. I don't think that was me. So I Googled it.
And you did.
I did say it. But I would say this. A lot of times when I write, I do feel like it's just a download from the Spirit. And I go back and I look at it and I go, wow, that was pretty impressive. I said that. Yeah. And I think that happens in writing. But here's the thing about self-help and about self-help gurus, and right now, as we're recording this, I mean, look what's happened with Tony Robbins. I mean, he was
I don't know anything about what happened with Tony Robbins, no.
Oh my gosh. So they have a video and soundbite of him.
He burned his foot?
He's saying the N-word repeatedly. And
No.
oh, it's bad. It's bad. You're going to want to Google it. Sophie, actually my 16-year-old came downstairs and went, oh my gosh, Mom, did you hear about Tony Robbins? Because he is a powerful motivator, but he's just a guy. He's just a guy with some good words, and he's strung them together and some wisdoms that have made people very successful and helped them in their life. But he's not the answer. And the minute that we put all of our eggs in some dude's basket, he's going to drop that basket because he's human. And you can expect nothing good from anyone but Jesus. He will never let you down. Rebecca and I are going to be staying together for the next 7 days, 6 days, and literally have a plan. I said to her, that's a long time for me to be there. And she was like, and we can go to our separate corners. We know about each other that we very likely will let each other down somewhere in this process. It just happens.
We're human.
We're human. And I'm all that.
And I'm all this.
And she's all this. And we have things that are, that I would also say this about us and how we do help each other is that we both, say stuff. We're both honest and open with each other. When you're up in front of a stage and all you're doing is selling yourself, if all you're doing is selling your books and your success and your awesomeness, that's the focus until something happens that proves you weren't all that. Mm-hmm. Which is one of the reasons I think authenticity, which Brene Brown is another one of the links that we need to have, has been so successful in talking about authenticity, is because everybody's so sick and tired of being let down. Mm-hmm. Everybody's so tired of going on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing of who's going to save me. Friends, you've been saved, bought, and paid for. And the answer is the way, the truth, and life, and that is Jesus Christ. So,
I set a timer.
You set a timer. Look at you go. She's all that.
I'm such a good secretary.
The point of that is that we can get these self-help books. I actually, the book that I
the light just changed in here.
I think it stopped raining. That I was so saddened by in the book that I'm referring to. And I'll put the link to the blog post. It's just not hard to figure out what book it is that I don't.
Well, I don't want them to figure out what book it is, but you know what? This happens with Christians too. This happens when we put a Christian pastor on a pedestal. I'm thinking of Joel Osteen right now. Like, people put him on a pedestal, and then when it came time for him to say, how do you get to heaven? And he didn't want to say there was only one way. And people, it says in the Bible, there's one way to get to heaven. Not all roads lead to,
or I think
is what it was. Yeah. But anyway, so people felt let down by that. And my point wasn't whether or not that that's not my point. I don't want to get into that. But what I'm saying is that people wanted him to give a specific answer based on his particular religion, and his answer didn't line up with what they thought and so he let all of these people down. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Oops, sorry.
But I also would want to interject here.
That's timer.
I heard an interview with him about that.
Mm-hmm. And
his answer was, I want people to stay on long enough to hear everything that I have to offer. And sometimes I'm forced to be politically correct. And we can bash that, except that, Rebecca, what did we do? We were going to name this season a Jesus Girls Help.
No, Charm School for Jesus Girls.
And we didn't, because it will not rank. It will not make it into the algorithm on any of our social medias if we use the J word. So there's part of it that can be strategic. There could part of it that can be just for money making. There can be there's so many layers.
And so what you're saying is you have to decide, okay, am I going to leave out this name in hopes that more people will end up hearing this? Or, like he's saying, he had to cut it short. Or are you going to put it in because that's what you believe that is right and get fewer people? Right. It's really a tough decision.
And you have to understand, I have had to understand, okay, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but what I've had to understand about things that I've read words that were put into books, words that were taken out of books, things that were misconstrued, things that were stolen, is that we're still dealing with human beings. Human beings are not the answer. They will let us down. And I always think back to what happened with Jen Hatmaker and this huge following of people. And then she made a reference, which for her was absolutely the truth for where she is, what she's doing, and she stands by it. She has no problem. She doesn't care if you send her a box full of poop. She's standing by what she is doing. But the people that turned on her, the people that hate her now, the people that go after her now, who also profess, in a lot of ways, a belief in this Savior, are missing the point. She was never the answer. She was never the whole truth, ever. And she never claimed to be.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is Jesus Christ. And I think that one of my primary examples in this is actually the topic of homosexuality, because I get this a lot from women. My demographic is actually women, probably 36 to actually 66, that have adult children that are homosexuals and are in a completely different bracket than what they ever thought they were going to have to support or understand as far as their children go.
Mm-hmm.
And they go looking at these all or nothing books. You don't usually have a book that goes, well, you can either be this way or this way. You can either choose this or this or this. You get a book and it has one idea. And this is the idea, and this is how you should be. And there's no middle
gray
ground.
area.
There's no gray area.
Yeah.
But Jesus knows us as individuals, and our help comes from him.
And on that note,
I'm going to breathe and go to my happy place, because it just is my thing, Rebecca. It breaks my heart to see people.
Well, I don't know if we listed too many dangers, but I think you guys get the idea.
Yeah.
So,
and I think we can address.
We can
more
expound
of,
on it.
We can expand on it. Did I
in a blog post
take us way off where I wanted you?
No, I just, like, you know me, I'm like a list maker, kind
She's
of a
a
bullet
list
point
maker.
girl, and you're a paragraph girl. You know, I'm
Like
like,
on all of the-
so yeah, it's time to take a little break.
And we are actually trying something a little bit new as we're still sifting through the many offers for sponsors and continuing to grow our Patreon list. We've decided that we're going to highlight something and add our links if it's something that we think that you would also enjoy as much as we do. And of course, Rebecca's got something, because we're going to be talking about makeup, and that will be our intro into this week's Healthy Fight. Take it away, Rebecca.
So is that the sponsor thing?
That's kind of the sponsor thing.
But we didn't say anything about it.
You're going to.
I'm not going to talk about the makeup.
I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm talking about
you
the
were
makeup.
Going to talk about, because I
Oh,
haven't used it.
Oh, I wasn't prepared for that.
Can we take this out?
Yes, we shall, because I wasn't ready for that. Okay, but let me fix it, you know, because I have a thing on it, so it's no big deal.
Okay.
And the product that we're going to talk about today is the Organic Skin Company. And a while back, I did a review. They sent me some product, and I did a review for it. So I'll add that link in the show notes. And it does have an affiliate link in there. So just so you're aware, if you choose to purchase something through that affiliate link, we will be compensated for that. So
It supports our podcast.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, it doesn't cost anything to you extra. Like, even if you Google it, you're still going to pay the same amount as if you went through my link. So why not support us without even having to really work for it? So anyways, the Organic Skin Company is obviously a very organic and clean makeup company, and they have moisturizers and all different kind of things, but basically it's just a very clean line of makeup. They have this stuff called Primp and Prime, and every time I put it on, because you know you want to prime your face before you put your makeup on, and when I put it on, Shauna will come into the bathroom and she says, "It smells like peaches in here." And I mean, who doesn't want their face to smell like a peach? I mean, come on, be peachy. So anyways, their products are vegan. vegan friendly. They're never tested on animals. They are 0 genetically modified ingredients. So it's all, as God made it kind of products. They're gluten free for those.
Oh, yeah. Because my daughter has celiac disease and did not realize that gluten products could make her sick.
Right, because it's absorbed through your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then they use a supercritical extraction process to extract from plants like amaranth, holy basil, vanilla, turmeric, calendula, sea buckthorn, rosemary, and a bunch of more all natural ingredients. And honestly, you guys have to go look at this blog post because their packaging is adorable. It's so pink and cute. And then for every time you make a purchase, they plant a tree. So they say your skin blooms and a tree grows, which I think is super cute and adorable. But they have a 4-pod palette bar, and they have an 8-pod palette bar. That's hard to say. And so you can go on there and you can pick the various pods that you want to put in your palette. So you can get there's a cheek and lip that you can get. So it's like a dual purpose product. And then they have like a highlight thing that you can pop in there. They have concealer, and they have like eyeshadows, and what they have powder. But what I have switched to, since I'm an older woman, is using creams, because when you are getting older and your face starts to get a little more dry, a little more wrinkly, you don't want to enhance the little creases in your face. So cream tends to camouflage that better. But anyways, you can get 20% off of your order of the Organic Skin Company by using coupon code GET20OFF. And so make sure you check out the show notes to get the link to that blog post. And their lipsticks are also really, really good. They don't taste terrible. You know how some lipstick has that yucky taste? But I was just really impressed when they sent me these products to review. I was beyond, and I get a lot of stuff like this because my daughter Macy is our cosmetologist, and she is the beauty writer for That Organic Mom. And we get a lot of offers for stuff, and I have to turn a lot of them down because some of the products just don't line up with our beliefs, our standards for makeup. But anyways, this one did, and I was very, very impressed.
Cool.
Oh.
Healthy Bite.
And now it's time for Healthy Bite. So on today's Healthy Bite, we are going to have a boxing match. This is going to be between veggies and fruits. So I hear people using eat your fruits and vegetables as interchangeable. Like, okay, fruits and vegetables are equally, great on the nutrition scale. And first off, they're both really good for you. Fruits and vegetables are both very good for you, but they are not nutritionally the same, and the benefits are not the same. I like to say that fruits are more cleansing and vegetables are more building. So if you need a cleanse, maybe more fruits. And if you need to build up your, vitamins, minerals, and all that, more vegetables. So Vegetables are significantly different when it comes to nutritional value. And it's not that fruit is bad, but it's just better in moderation, because fruit does contain, sugar, not white sugar, but fruit sugar. Obviously, I'm sure people know that. But so if you had to choose between, say, a mango and a candy bar, obviously a mango is better. But if you are going to eat, you're really hungry and you're going to eat a bowl full of mangoes, that is definitely going to cause an insulin spike. So where vegetables tend to be lower on the sugar scale. So, and even on that same line, thinking of leafy green vegetables, leafy greens are super like powerhouse packed, pound for pound, the nutrition can't be beat. There's nothing that, pound for pound, that you can get that level of nutrition. So yes, both are good, but vegetables build you up and fruits are more cleansing. And while we do need both, vegetables tend to be something you can eat like more of, and fruits need to be eaten in moderation. It like always kind of makes me cringe a little bit when someone makes a smoothie and they put in a mango and a pineapple and a banana and this and this and this and this, and it's like 24 ounces of pure fruit puree. That is gonna wreak havoc on your metabolism. It's just not. Yes, fruit is wonderful, and I will write a little bit more of an in-depth blog post about this. So.
And in my blog post, I will include my link to the Sneaky Spinach Smoothie, which is Sam's
I
favorite.
love.
It's very, very green. It doesn't have fruit in it, but it's balanced out with spinach, and its color is fantastic.
Does it have peaches in it?
It does have peaches.
So when I was pregnant with Harmon, I drank a spinach smoothie every single morning for 9 months, spinach, peaches, and coconut water for 9 months, and I grew a 12-pound baby. And that birth story is on thatorganicmom.com. So if you want to really cringe.
And she gave birth to him at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's a crazy person.
And then my husband was like, well, we are not doing that again because I thought you were going to die. And I thought I was going to die too.
Oh, okay. So back to our
self-help hazards.
Our road sign again for this one is choose your roadmap carefully. Some self-help books pretend to say something, but in reality are nice sounding words with no real value added by the author. And we have 2 scriptures this time, 2 Timothy 3:16-17. All scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction and training in righteousness, that the man of God may be competently equipped for every good work. And Romans 12:12, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And this is the part of the podcast where we talk about our life applications. And I am calm now, so I'm going to say this. I think there is a lot of value in note-taking. So when I am reading a book, I actually have a journal, and I will jot down, or listening to a book, I'll jot down or text myself something that I heard. But in most of the things that I do like to teach and encourage people is recognizing something that is for us and something that is not for us. And one of the reasons I didn't want to just get on here and just vomit nastiness about a book that I read that didn't resonate for me is the fact that it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't for me.
And what's ironic about that is right after we talked about this, which I have not read the book, but I've read plenty about, and I know, well, anyways, but right after that, one of my closest friends sent me an invite to do the Bible study on YouVersion. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't a Christian book. What? I was so confused. And then you told me that it was published by this Christian company, and I was really surprised because it's not even a Christian book.
No.
So whatever.
No, but that is I think this is for me and this is not for me. Without condemning or trashing another human being that is on a journey of discovery, whether she claims it's the formula for the perfect life or not, her wisdoms were not for me. But what was for me were the things that I realized about myself and my belief system that drew me in closer to God. So you can receive information that you can consider poisonous or toxic or whatever and still glean something from it. You can still take away from it. That's not for me. That made me pull over on the side of the road and cry hysterically because I know that that's not for me.
And it's not for a lot of other women because not everyone has that privilege.
No. And I think that that's where the hazard comes in, is the idea that one publication has all the answers, because there's only one publication that has the right formula for living. And that publication became the word.
Speaking
flesh.
Of self-help.
Right.
Shauna lost a tooth, and now she said she has a toothache. And I said, no, you can't have a toothache because the tooth isn't there anymore. Yeah. And she said, well, I have a gum ache where the tooth is coming through. What's the home remedy for that? Okay. You guys can leave that in the comments.
Ambisol.
Oh.
Something numbing, I guess. I was going to say, I saw that makeup company that you mentioned had holy basil as one of the ingredients, and holy basil is one that we used for depression in one of our sons.
Oh,
It's a very strong
we use
smell, but-
saffron. Believe it or not,
Mhm.
saffron is
Yeah.
also
So listen to us. We have all these little gems and things.
little gems.
Little gems. but
I
They
had
might
a
not be all the answers.
right. My life application for this, yours says grace, grace, grace. And when I read that the first time, I was like, oh, Jamie, you're just the grace girl.
I am
You
a
really
grace girl.
are. And mine was, okay, mine's always more step by step. So I have six-step life application. And this is based on the story I told you during the musings about the book that I was going to read. When do we look for a self-help book? Like what triggers a need to go get a self-help book off the shelf?
We want change.
We want change. We need something.
Mm-hmm.
We need something. And so what's the first thing? How does God communicate with us? Well, one, through his word. And so if we want communication from God, we need to read his word. And like my sister-in-law said, the Bible, you need to start there. And so, hey, start. You've got a problem. Well, I need some self-help here. And self-help even saying self-help, well, I need some God help.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with some God help.
Yeah.
Okay, go and read your Bible,
Not
okay?
how to,
Right.
how he.
And then after you read your Bible, pray. Talk to Jesus. Tell him, I need some help here. I have this issue. And then, after you talk to Jesus, I usually feel better. But, if you still are uncertain about what to do, and that happens. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I read my Bible and then I talked to Jesus and everything was better. Because that's a lie. It doesn't always work that way. It can, but it doesn't always. So and then I would say that the next thing is unless your spouse is part of the problem, talk to your spouse. And maybe even if your spouse is part of the problem, talk to your spouse. And what was it Dr. J said about talking to you? I need to talk to you about something, but I'm afraid.
I'm afraid to. Well, and that was so applicable too, because like if I went to Justin after my episode with that particular book that we've been referencing and just basically
lost it.
And I was crying and I was telling him all the things and he just had this deer in the headlights look, like he was supposed to fix.
Because men do tend to want to fix it.
And then I said, I'm actually not asking you for anything.
Yes.
I just needed to say all of the things that this brought
You needed
out
to get it off your
I
chest.
I need to say these things. And he was probably thinking, can't you call Rebecca? I was so broken from that.
Yeah.
But then after I said those things, and it wasn't in this exact order that you're offering, and I talked to you and I talked to Carrie and I talked to Justin and it was then that I sat down and just started writing out why it hurt me, why I felt so empty,
good,
why I felt so lost based on something that appears to be the message of true success when all I seem to do is fail. And it was literally in that moment. And I know you and I talked about it, that I was like, this is why what I want to write and why I want to start the book with. I hope I never meet you. I hope you never see me in a stadium full of thousands of cheering fans.
Because it's not about me. Right. And, that's funny that you said that, because the same sister-in-law that said, go to the Bible, she also told me what you just said is like when you go to talk to your spouse, which is my number 3, when you go to talk to your spouse, you need to say, if you don't want him to fix it, you say that, I don't want you to fix this. I just want you to listen to me. You're my most trusted person and I just need someone to hear me. And so that lets them off the hooks so that they're not like busy in their mind thinking, how do I fix this? So they're available to just listen. Right. And, and then,
they don't go out and hunt and kill the latest fad author.
Yes. And so
chivalrously to save you from them.
Right. So that actually helps them to be able to hear what you need to say.
Well, and I would add this to that.
Okay.
It also takes away that aspect of being further hurt. Because if you're expecting the person that you're venting to fix how you feel, you're putting something on them that they might not be able to fulfill. So what happens in all of our self-help scenarios is that we've created this web of how we're all going to fix each other. Even the stuff that we're talking about, we may be talking you off a ledge, But the reality of it is we are not the answer.
Right.
We are not the final say on what is for you and what is not for you. But I think going into any conversation with someone, and I think that this is interesting that this even comes up, because I remember at one point when this particular book was being discussed, and there was a brawl on one of the social media channels, and they were like, this book saved my life, no, 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 no. And somebody else was like, no, 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 no. And everybody has these opinions. It's even just coming to the place where you can say, you know what, this is my opinion. This is how this impacted me. What you say may or may not change my mind, but in the end, it's not even your responsibility to do that. Our final word, the final authority, the final peacemaker bought and paid for our peace, our joy, our comfort, and our success when he gave it all on the cross and the blood worked.
Exactly. Right.
But you had talked to your pastor friends, and I just I interrupted you. But
no, it's fine.
Those are those things. Yeah.
But no, that was just expounding on that, and I agree totally with that. So, anyways, this was kind of like in my mind the order of like self-helpness that is trustworthy, because like this author doesn't know you. Yeah. She doesn't know how to help you. Yeah. She doesn't know how to help me. She doesn't know how to help hundreds of thousands of other women. She just knows how to help her, and unfortunately, I mean, what worked for her might not work for you or me, and it doesn't. But anyhow, so I'm saying, like, you know, the Bible, God knows you, and then pray, talk to Jesus. He knows you. Talk to your spouse. He knows you. And then if you still need more help, we have harped on this so much, but a licensed therapist, a licensed therapist can help you with your unique need, as opposed to an overgeneralized book that may or may not hit. You know, it's a hit or miss thing when you get a self-help book. It might help you, it might not. But a licensed therapist, it's like skipping to the chapter that you need. Instead of reading 50 chapters about stuff you don't need, you get just the one chapter that you do need. So seek out a licensed therapist. And then number 5, if for some reason you can't afford or choose not to see a therapist, then talk to your pastor, talk to your small group leader, talk to your church friend, or, you know, someone at your church who could maybe help you. And then last of all, you know, you have your friends. And then if you are going through these 6 things, and you're still needing help, then go get your self-help book. You know, I guess, no, I'm teasing about the last one, but I'm just saying that there's so many, and I don't have anything against self-help books. I'm saying we're leaning too much on this. If you go to the self-help aisle at the bookstore, it's enormous. It's insane. And there are all these resources. We've stopped having relationships with people, and we've stopped having a relationship with God, and we've skipped over all of this built-in help and community that we have, and just went straight to the book aisle. And I'm all for books. I love books. You know, I'm not saying that.
One of our themes for this particular season is to be well read, you know, is a great way to enhance everything about yourself. But, and I hesitate to use but the only guru that truly knows us, and in so many ways, because of these powerhouse personalities, has become secondary. He's the secondary answer. So I even, back to what your sister-in-law said, you know, first, have you sought this help? Have you sought this Christ who died, whose word, the word that became flesh, is that foremost in your help? Or is he secondary and something that you say to the off-brand, you know? Well, and even in that book, you know, it's by a Christian author and a Christian publisher, but it isn't about any biblical principles. None. That's not what it's about. But if you know that going in, then there may be some things that you can glean from it. But
your pep talk.
That's, for me, capstone to this episode is he is our help.
When you did that, if you're watching the video, Jamie put her hand in the air and the light went up. It was amazing.
Magic. I do. I'm so passionate about this, but I also would like to interject. The reason I'm passionate about it is because it has been my folly for years. He has been secondary in what I consider help. And I think that when we meet with hurts and tragedies and brokenness, and then we listen to or read a book that makes it sound like it's just do these 3 things and your life will be awesome like mine, it's so disheartening. But the disheartening part for me, once I said it out loud, once I processed what I had read, once I faced what I had read, it has nothing to do. I'm not criticizing the author. I'm really not even criticizing her words. It's not for me.
Right.
It's just not for me. So that is, I already love this episode the most because I feel like it's so much of what both of us crave for ourselves and anyone that hears it, is that you literally are in constant communion with the help.
I just had a genius thought.
Okay.
Girl, wash your feet.
You know, my friend that I just endorsed her.
What did Jesus do?
He washed your feet.
He washed their feet.
He washed their feet. My friend Kate Battistelli, Francesca Battistelli, that sings Holy Spirit. Kate Battistelli, she endorsed both my books, and she just wrote a book called The God Dare, which we need to put the link in here for. It just came out, and she actually says that in the book. She says, "Don't wash your face, go wash someone's feet," which actually is a great segue into our next episode, which is the premeditated life and life with purpose. And we have a couple things we're going to touch on about that. But yeah, I mean, wash someone's feet. Be kind. Be kind. And so we're actually going to really hit on that for this next episode in Charm School. Before we head out, I want to invite you to join us in our Facebook group, Hope Lively. We will include the link, of course, as always. Hope Lively is just probably, and I'm biased, but the most beautiful women, human beings, charming, delightful.
Very charming.
Wonderful group. Safest place I've ever experienced on the internet is this little Facebook group where these women just hold us up in prayer and love on us and each other. And it's a blessed community. For me, it is, for now, at church in a lot of ways. It's definitely just home to me. So
and every month in there we do like a little challenge, and it's not like, fast for 28 days and only drink green juice. It's nothing like that.
Never ask you to not eat for 28 days.
Never.
We're gonna eat again as soon as we finish.
But we do these little challenges. We'll do like a move your body challenge, or we'll do a water challenge. And this month we're doing well, not this month because you'll be listening to this in a different month than we're recording it.
Acts of kindness.
Right. As we're recording this, our current challenge is acts of kindness.
My favorite one so far was the prayer challenge.
The prayer challenge changed lives.
It did. And it wasn't so much, make sure you're on your knees, but it was actually just the awareness of what we were praying for, how we were praying, how we talked to God. So it's fabulous. I also want to invite you to please go ahead, become a patron. For as little as $1 a month, you can get the video
version of this podcast.
My brain stopped working. The video version of this podcast. There's coupons to my Etsy shop. There are printable life application downloads that Rebecca makes that will knock your socks off.
They just go along with the podcast episodes, and so it like reinforces what we're talking about, basically the road sign, the scripture.
Notes. So yeah, and they're just available to you. There's little, every once in a while, some daily life musings, and then we also have our monthly motivation meetings. There's different levels that you can be involved in, but I would ask that you please consider it, because that is actually how we paid for me to fly out here to record this season and to work on the next.
Oh, and as we are speaking, we have a new patron.
Shut up.
Nope. I shall not. Can't stop, won't stop. I'll never shut up. We do.
Did you really get a new patron?
Look, we have, see? Okay.
Which one did she join?
I don't know. I'll have to look. But anyways, we'll let you guys go. This is the end of Season 5, Episode 2. Thank you, Carol, for your pledge. We love you to pieces.
Oh, we love our patrons.
We really
love all
do.
of you anyway, but this is one of those things.
This is our first Actually, this is our first new patron for season 5.
It is. And, you know, I've said this before, it's hard to ask people to commit to something like this, but if you're listening to us, if you enjoy this, if you want more, it's a great way to do it. And it is a great way to support us because it's expensive. And
it's time consuming, people.
It's time consuming, and I have to fly.
Yeah, she hates flying, and thankfully Justin allowed Jamie to take money out of their budget to pay for part of her ticket to come here.
And my Xanax prescription.
And her Xanax prescription. And I spend many hours editing our podcast videos and creating life application things. And so we do put a lot of time into this, but we love doing it because we love helping people.
We do. And we love you guys.
And we love Jesus.
And that being said, go help yourself to little Jesus and Jesus be all over you.
Thanks for joining Jamie and Rebecca for this episode of Jubilee Road Podcast. If you loved this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it on iTunes so more women like you can find freedom in the grace journey. And join the girls here next week for another episode.